Welcome back to my channel. You might be thinking about if you should go to any one of these big universities, but they're out of province. So you're wondering, should I go or should I not go? To go or not to go? Now the most obvious factor that students typically consider when choosing a university is reputation, is tuition and costs. But I have experience studying out of province, and it did not go as well because I neglected some very essential factors, and I want to share those factors with you so you don't make my same mistake. The first thing that you should consider when choosing to study out of province is not so much tuition, but more so rent. About rent, you gotta be realistic. And here are some points which I'll discuss with an example. Be realistic. So what I mean by that is you can't just visit third-party sites and search up most expensive places to live, most cheapest place to live, average living costs in Montreal, average living costs in Vancouver. But you gotta ask yourself, where do you want to live? If I want to go to live in UBC and I think residence is too expensive and I only want to live on campus because that's a dream that I want. Also, one very important factor that you should consider is you might think that studying out of province is like living a dream, but the truth is it's not so much. So you gotta expect some ugly things. Let's search it up. So if you want to live in Vancouver, you want to study on UBC. But UBC is, whoops, so slow. UBC is in here, and you think residence is expensive, so you want to live somewhere close to UBC. But if you search up a rent for places close to UBC, you'll realize it's like $2,000 a room. So the next thing you need to think about is, are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to compromise? That means, are you willing to pay $2,000 for a room? Or are you willing to live like in Burnaby, Richmond, Surrey, or somewhere far like this place here, Heights here? You're gonna pay less money, but you still gotta travel like an hour to get to school. So you gotta think about, are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to live in a rat hole to go to UBC? So you gotta have a really strong reason, an intrinsically motivated reason to actually be able to sustain at one of these schools, especially since you're studying out of province and if you're not the richest person in the world. Okay, and one of the stories that I should explain is, are you willing to compromise? Are you willing to pay a lot of money, more than you currently expect, to live in a place that you might not like so much? So one more thing that you can think about is, where are you now? What kind of place do you live in now? And are you willing to exchange more money for a lower quality of life? If you are, then you're good to go, and hopefully you don't have to compromise, but you just need to be prepared so when you meet reality, you don't find the worst. Now the second part is flight. Of course, distance is always a very strong argument as to where to go. And if you're not the richest student like me, I'm sure not a lot of students are rich unless you're an international student, or if you just got a lot of money and you want to spend it on one of these schools and go for it. But if you're an average person like me, you gotta search up a flight. So let's say I want to go to Vancouver. I take a look at what kind of flights I can get. But obviously you want to look at June, which I don't think I can get over here. And can I? But yeah, this is actually really helpful if you're hesitating on whether to go somewhere or not. This is way too early, so we won't take a look at that. Yeah, if you are hesitating whether to go or not, one good way to look is the flight. How many hours is it? If there's an emergency, can you get back immediately? Or you want to think about the accessibility, because sometimes for flights, they say it's $180 for one way, and then you put on a whole bunch of add-ons and it becomes like $500. So you want to take a look at if it's accessible to you, and you do that by actually searching up on Google, preferably at the primary source, to find out the price. And then so that you're not just adding tuition, You're not just saying, let me add a text box. So your student price isn't just tuition now. It's going to be rent plus flight. You know, in those university few books, they just say living costs, tuition, books, and materials. But don't forget, you got rent, you got flight, and then it's not probably the most comfortable thing that you're willing to exchange for. So you need to keep those things in consideration. Now, another special consideration will include some very weird things. Weather, laws, and ability to secure stable income. By weather, I mean, let's say you live in Vancouver and you want to go to this place, but you've never been to winter weather. You probably want to gather more information first. Gather more information, and that is most likely from primary sources. So you don't just want to search up YouTube, Toronto winter. If you can, try to go there yourself and experience if this is the weather you like, you can bear with, because this place is super cold. And if you are from this place coming to this place, you better get a lot of coats and be able to walk like a penguin every day. So I really can't stress, to make a good informed decision, you gotta get more information from primary sources. You gotta experience it yourself, because what online things say, they say X and Y, but you don't feel it. So until you get there and then you feel sorry for yourself, but it's already too late. And the second part is laws. This is a weird one. For this place, my goodness, when you find a place to live, in Montreal, they have like a national day, I think it's July 1st, where everyone that is in a renting place moves around. So there's like a set date that everyone typically signs a lease, a set date that everyone typically moves around. So if you miss that date, you are going to have a hard time finding a place to rent that is not scammed. Okay, so, well, yeah, like for these places, you know, you can get a 6-month lease, 12-month lease, but this place, the law says you got to sign a 12-month lease. And be careful not to get scammed. Go there early and look for a place to live before you miss that deadline. Do your research. Now, the next part is ability to secure stable income. If you are a student planning on working while you work to alleviate your student debts, you got to take a look at your likelihood of getting a job in all of these places. Obviously, at McGill, a lot of jobs in the city, you need French. Even if you say some jobs don't need French, you look at McDonald's and then people still say numbers in French. You gotta know some French, otherwise you're gonna only work in McDonald's. And then, yeah, so just take a look at your likelihood of getting a job if you're planning to work. And yeah, do more research if you can. Now, the last part is, obviously studying out of province will require a lot of thinking. And this I'm going to address on hesitation. If you are still hesitating, there's probably a good reason. It's probably your guts. Something doesn't feel right. Maybe you didn't gather more information. You don't know if this is the best choice for you to make just yet. And you are a little afraid to make it. That is perfectly fine. But what I'm trying to get at is gather as much information as you can from primary sources before making a commitment. Otherwise, you go there and you feel sorry for yourself. It might affect your studying and might affect your GPA and a whole bunch of things. A lot of adaptation if you want to study out of province. Unless you got like a stable income and a place to live that you know for sure. But if you're still hesitating, you should think about some other alternatives. I knew some people that studied out of province, and including myself, who were before leaving already hesitant, went and then just blew it. It was not a great choice that they made, including myself. So if you're still hesitating, you think about all of these factors, and if you're still hesitating, your guts are telling you no, maybe. All right. So these are my tips for you if you want to study out of province. It might be applied if you want to study out of your city, but this is like on the grand scale of considerations that you should carefully think about, especially this part. This you gotta know. So if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe for more of this kind of admissions and university videos, and I hope you can tune in next time.